Welcome to Peers and Beers. It's a show where we talk to creative professionals about their journey in life and their creative field, all whilst enjoying some cervezas. Sounds pretty great, right? As the conversations flow, so do the beers. So it kind of gets exponentially more fun as we go along, but also there's a lot of great information as we pry into the nitty-gritty of their respective field and shoot the shit a little bit and have a good time. It's kind of the vibe here. I hope you learned something. I know I do, and I hope you guys have fun listening because I have fun recording them. If you know what I'm talking about, I'm talking about a little bit of booze.
Please drink responsibly.
But anyway, let's see who we got on the show today. Outfit change. Today we'll be drinking Rheingeist's Harvest 03, a hazy that's delicious and juicy, just like today's guest, cinematographer Josh Bray. Josh has a lot of agency experience and now he's doing his own thing as a freelancer. So he kind of gives us a roadmap of how he got that initial gig with LPK, the agency here in Cincinnati, and how he transitioned into the freelance game. So if you're interested in freelancing as a videographer or photographer, this episode has lots of super helpful information. I know I learned a lot, so I hope you guys do too. And without further ado, roll that intro, baby.
Check out the guests. We're about to bring in. We're good friends. We're connected on LinkedIn. No overthinking, just over drinking. No overthinking, just over drinking. Beers and beers, drink away your fears. Let's chit chat for 42 years. Let's hope things don't get too weird. Now it's time for beers and beers and beers.
Before we start, I just have a little waiver
Okay.
that I need you to sign. If you want to show the camera what we're working with here.
I am not an alcoholic.
Yeah, like
True.
I reviewed like the lyrics of the theme song, and I think some might address them as problematic. Drink away your fears could be, spun a slew of different ways. So I just want to make sure that I'm not like enabling anyone with this show. And now that we have, the legal wrapped up, we can get into the actual process.
Into our beers?
Yeah,
All
but
right.
You're not an alcoholic.
I'm not.
so-
We're not.
Cool.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet.
We'll see how this episode goes.
Might turn me. So, so cheers.
Cheers. Peers and beers and cheers.
Beers, and cheers.
This is my first Cloud Harvest.
Yeah, so they have actually had 3 of them.
This is the third.
This is the third
Rendition.
of the Cloud Harvest. Yeah,
What-
they're all unfiltered, juicy IPAs.
And the first 2, were they just busts and they had to
I think they're
go back
just,
to the drawing board? Or?
I think it's a harvest thing, so I think it's whatever's kind of around at that, season they'll create,
Well, thank you, Ryan, guys, for sponsoring the episode. Well, not yet.
But hopefully.
We don't have that clout yet, but we're getting there.
Notes of tangerine, lemon, and grapefruit in this one. So
This beer's a little bit fruity, just like today's guest, Josh Bray.
hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, Josh, you are a professional filmmaker / videographer. Is that fair to say? Creative?
Yeah, right. It's interesting. Like your title can be kind of filmmaker, cinematographer, creative, things like that. Most of the time, I tend to go by cinematographer, editor, and creative. So I'm working with the camera. I'm also doing like post-production work, and then I like to think of myself as a creative. I had a background in working at an agency in downtown Cincinnati for a little bit, and it was just a creative hub. And that really helped me hone, those skills and kind of push them out a little bit more from my inside out. I've always felt like I've been a pretty creative person, but like once you start to get in those environments,
Right.
You can
it's
really
like
start to
professional creative is like, it's different than like I got some hobbies on the side.
Yeah, right.
It's like a label that makes it feel like I don't know, important almost. It's like you're gonna pay me because I am creative.
Yeah. And sometimes, with our industry, you get asked to just kind of like run and gun and do these things. But, if you have like a strong creative up front, it's really going to help pay out in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important to have those things attached to who you are so people know.
Yeah. I think just like being a little bit earlier on in just like my career trajectory, it almost feels, you don't want to be like, come off like arrogant or whatever. Like, I'm a creative. So.
Yeah, that's why I put cinematographer and editor, but
before that, or else you
like
would be a pretentious douche.
Yeah.
But since it's third,
it was
your
first,
level.
Yeah. It was first a creative cinematographer and editor.
Yeah.
It would be pretentious.
Yeah. So, like, going back a little bit, growing up, were you always kind of like into creating stuff, or was it something you picked up a little bit later on?
I feel like growing up, yeah, I was definitely into, art. I remember doodling a lot, like in, elementary school and things like that. And then also my dad got me really into like music. When we all hit like the 3rd grade, he bought us a musical instrument. Mine was the guitar, my sister was piano, my brother played the drums.
So he was just making a band.
Pretty much,
He's like the LeVar Ball of just creating musical geniuses.
Yeah, so I think that helped really tap into my creativity. And then later on, I had there was another time my dad had got my sister a camera for her, like, I want to say, like 15th or, like 15th
We'll fact
birthday.
check this.
We'll go back and ask him. But I was like, I'm not going to I don't want to do photo. I want to do video. Like, I want things to be in motion, And I remember just like getting that camera and being amped and just like started shooting my friends, just kind of doing some dumb things, you know what I mean? And just taking that footage and editing it. And I never really thought like I would be doing this as a career.
Right.
It just became like a passion. And I was in school like kind of fumbling around like, oh, what am I gonna do? I guess I could be a teacher. That's a safe thing. I feel like I could be,
And this is when
kids
at the point.
When at the point, so like I'm in college now, right? So I've been a year in, I'm like, I've designated my major as middle childhood education, math and science, because you have to choose like 2, specialties. And I was like, I like this, but I just don't know if I can be passionate about it. So I just did a little gut check, and I went through and just like read off all the list of majors that, Miami had to offer, and I saw mass communication, and they had division of media production. And I was like, this is perfect. I've already been, filming my friends, doing dumb things around town, and did it seamlessly. So I think I could do this for a long time.
Right. It's like when you're creating something that's just like, of your own volition, you're not really thinking that like, oh, this could be of like legitimate value to someone who might pay me. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then, sorry, just keep going. You want me to keep going about my life and stuff like that? Out of school?
Keep going,
Keep
bro.
going? Okay,
just keep going. Just, hey, you're on a good little run.
flow.
Let's keep it going.
All right, we'll keep the run going. So then after school, I've always had a passion for food too. So I was working on my uncle's catering company here in Cincinnati, Jeff Thomas Catering, and I was there for maybe like a year and a half.
So this is like right after school.
Right after school, like looking into jobs around the area. Moved down to Cincinnati, and I'm just like working out of the kitchen, and I really fell in love with the way they produce there. It's also a production,
Right.
Very much so in a sense. Like pre-production is like your prep work, and then production is actually sending out the food to the guests.
Right.
And
It's
then
the big premiere.
Yeah, the big premiere, right?
Yeah.
And then the post production's dishes.
Clean it up. Yeah.
And so those are like 20-hour days from prepping in the kitchen, getting the food all the way ready, to driving it somewhere, and then actually serving salads to the main course to dessert, and then cleaning up. That's like 20-hour days. You wake up after getting like maybe 4 hours of sleep, and you're right back at it again.
Yeah, a day after working in the service industry, like you feel it in your legs.
You do.
For sure.
Yeah, you really do.
Yeah. So when you were doing that, were you always kind of like thinking about like how you're gonna make the move back into filmmaking, creativity, etc.?
I was like, it was always in the back of my head, but I mean, to be honest, I think I was just pretty much floating, I was pretty much floating, and then like my mom had a contact over at LPK. It's like, I think you should meet this guy. Went and met with him, and then he hired me on to do like a simple video job, and then I think they had like some people like leaving at the time, maybe like interns or co-ops or something like that, and then they offered me a job after they saw a bit of my chops.
Nice.
And then sat down at the interview. I feel like I crushed it, even though I was sweaty. I mean, kids are sweating. I was sweating through my jacket. I was so intimidated. But landed that job, and it was incredible.
Yeah, that's a nice little turn of events.
Nice turn of events.
But when you were working at your uncle's catering place, you said, was there any like tension within you, like, I just went to Miami University for a little bit, like, it's a prestigious university, and invested X amount of dollars into this, like, now I'm just working, in food. Like, was there any like internal strife as far as like, this is not where I'm supposed to be?
Yeah, I think, it was definitely in the back of my mind, but I'm definitely the type of person that needs to be like kind of pushed here and there, and I've been working on it on myself, like
self-improvement. Sick.
But at that time, like, it was constantly in the back of my head, and I was like, man, if I don't like really jump into something, then this could be potentially like the end. It just feels like if you're not using it, you're losing it type thing.
Yeah.
So I was starting to get like that vibe, and thank goodness that my mom, had the connect that she had there.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally feel you, because like as of March, I was out in Los Angeles, kind of like sporadically doing like freelance work, like here and there. I was living with a couple guys who had like the camera and whatnot, so I was kind of taking more of like a producer role. But the way I pay my bills is like, bussing tables at the restaurant, and like coming right out of college, it's like, this is what's paying the bills right now. And yeah, definitely feeling a little bit of that, like, I'm not necessarily like self-actualizing the way that I should, or like the way I want to be self-actualizing.
Right, and like it's tough too, because you're just like kind of in that, and time is like the biggest currency that you can have, and if I'm spending 20 hours a day, or you're spending 20 hours a day bussing and working at a restaurant, it doesn't leave a lot of other time for other things.
Yeah. And like the Los Angeles attitude, it's very much so like, I'm gonna grind on this, thing that I don't really want to do, so I can, put myself in the possible position of doing what I really want to do. But I'll tell you what, you clock out and you're just like drained, and it's like, how much extra do you have to really go for what you want to go for?
Put effort into like what you really want. Yeah, that can be tough. That can be so tough at times. You know what I mean? Yeah, because you have to take that mental break and physical break too.
Yeah, yeah. That's why like I hear these stories of people like George Clooney was like a waiter for like years and years, and he was just like holding on to the dream on the side while, you know, doing this money-making endeavor. And like, that's tough. I feel fortunate right now to be like in a place where the money-making thing is like the thing that I want to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it feels like just more fluid when everything's aligned. You feel like a tension when you're doing one thing and the other thing is in the back of your mind. Like
Yeah, you just have that desire for that other
Mm-hmm.
thing. You know what I mean? There is always that tension. I think that's why you grow. Because I feel like even though I'm still where I'm at, like in a good place with things, but I still want to keep going.
Right.
So there's always that tension to, you know, excel and like get on the next
Yeah.
bigger camera and the next bigger set.
Yeah,
the next, big thing.
you don't want to like undersell your potential.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when you started at LPK, I don't know much about like agency world
Mm-hmm.
or just like a more like I guess like corporate-y process. How did you enjoy like being within that realm?
I loved it. And like anyone that worked at LPK will tell you the best thing about LPK was the culture. Just the individuals there are just incredible individuals. Like, excited? They're incredible individuals and probably some of the best, like well-balanced like humans I've ever met in my life. And that would definitely be the best part about it. In terms of, you know, working with video and things like that, that got, you know, that was wonderful as well because I got to go in there and kind of put my creative twist on things. There's definitely like creative directors above me directing some things, but you know, I had an input and say and got to control the back end of things in the edit, you know what I mean? So it was extremely liberating to express myself in that way. And I tend to miss it because like we had a lot of fun projects where it was human-based work. Because I was making videos for LPK, but then also for clients that, you know, would potentially want that capability
Right.
through our visual media department. And, you know, I think the best and my most favorite videos were just like when we're just talking to the people that worked at LPK and like diving into their world and their life a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think that it's interesting. It's interesting because I feel like that's kind of my cup of tea now, you know what I mean? It's like you don't really realize your early exposure to like certain videos and how that will kind of direct or influence the things that you're going to want to create in the future. So it seems like whenever I have to do like a human, you know, culture piece, it's like, oh, I got that, no problem. You know what I mean? I know exactly how to serve that up. If like I'm in a certain like brand or certain area, I know how to represent them in a certain way and bring that human element in. And I think being around great humans, having that open creativity there helped drive that.
Yeah, so LPK, that was kind of like in their bag, like a more like human focus.
Yeah, I think it was, you know, I feel like it was in their bag, but also I feel like that's just kind of who I am too.
That's what you gravitated towards, so they kind of like fed you that way?
I think it was a mutual. It was like a balanced relationship. I think it was both like, you know, it was equal parts, you know. I think that we just like jived in that way, you know what I mean? So they could pick up that I was like, you know, I kind of shoot with my heart and edit with my heart. And I think that's why I was ultimately there making videos for them.
So when you say shoot with your heart, like visually, like what does that mean? Like, what does that mean?
It's tough, right? That's kind of tough to say. Shooting with your heart. I think it's almost like you're behind the camera and you're shooting a subject, and you know you're just kind of waiting for a moment to kind of happen, and you just know when you're shooting when that moment happens. It could be just a genuine smile. It could be just a genuine look to the camera. It could just be, you know, just a genuine feeling. And I think, you know, being able to shoot with your heart can also mean that you have to be open to that. And I feel like sometimes people get around me and maybe they just kind of feel a little bit more open, or, you know, are able to just kind of be themselves.
Right.
Which I hope for any individual, really.
You're making me really uncomfortable right now.
All right, good.
But just kidding. It's a joke.
But yeah, maybe people do or don't feel like that, but you can just tell, like, in the editing room, like anytime that I have like an emotional feel towards a clip, like the best like 3 seconds out of like a 10-second clip, you just know like that moment is a human moment, you know, and it's like just a genuine smile, emotion, or what have you.
Yeah.
But like shooting with your heart, it's kind of tough. It is tough to like kind of, how do you do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like it's much more so like you feel it rather than like you can like verbalize it perfectly. It's like when you see it, you know it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like cut. I was thinking of a parallel, didn't have it. We're gonna cut that.
Sounds good. Also, you see that guy?
Oh, beautiful. I've seen some of those guys in my bathtub.
Oh yeah, they will be in the bathtub.
I'm just
People like get freaked out by these things.
Bye.
They hate centipedes. It's all the legs.
Yeah. So you have like a background in music.
Yeah.
Pops gave you the guitar when you were a halfling, and you say that like kind of plays a part in the way that you end up cutting things.
Yeah.
Having that like rhythm, or just like having that internal just compass for like how something is supposed to
cut and like come together, and you know, you feel that it has to be a parallel, you know what I mean? It has to, the visuals have to match up with like the audio. And it could be like a simple thing like just, you know, hitting on the beat, you know, it's a very easy thing to do, right? Like cutting on the beat.
Yeah, that's like my like baseline, like my understanding of how the visual and like the track that you lay on it interacts together. But like I can gauge like, okay, here's this video, here's the client that wants or who's like, you know, paying for the project, what are they looking for, just like based off their background, because like different genres of music for like different people. But when you say like letting the music, I guess, like guide how you cut it, like is there like a deeper element than that?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a deeper element than that, you know, because I was just like editing something the other day, and the music had these like little melodies that would come in, right? And I couldn't just put a certain shot there. You know, it had to be the right shot that felt good for that little melody. You know, it was an opportunity to really just like capitalize on like what the music was doing, because like there's a certain emotion that's associated with that, you know what I mean? So like hitting on a certain like different like melody change with the right clip could make the world in like, you know, the editing room. Yeah, I'm trying to think like what else too, because, you know, I was also just like, I'm editing this like fly fishing video right now, right? And this guy's like going back and forth with his rod, and he goes out, right? We're gonna have some sound effects in there. I'd like to actually use your voice.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah,
yes.
I do sound mixing.
Hell yeah.
Just like with my voice, that's the niche that I'm going for. So hire me.
And it might be cheesy, but like, you know, like the guy's like going, and you can see like his line, like because it's fly fishing, right? So his line's gonna eventually come to the end and just be straight, right? So when he's throwing that line, it goes and hits straight, and it has like this little vibration moment. So that I took that as a cue to like maybe hit on like this bass moment. You know what I mean? It's not like right on the cut, but like the visual is matching with like the audio. You know, I think like things like that, I feel like you just feel more.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that hones you in, you know, because like you're visually connecting it, but then you're also like connecting it with the music.
Yeah, and you know, if you like listen to musicians like talk about the effect that their, you know, sonic expression is trying to have on the listener, like you can really get a feel for like how a certain sound makes people feel. Like, not to bring up Kanye, you know, you know,
this video is also sponsored by Kanye.
Yeah, he's a buddy of mine. But like he talks about how like that 808, that like deep like guttural almost like boom like hits you like on a very like primal level.
Yeah.
So when he's like making stuff like, I don't know, like a lot of stuff on like Life of Pablo, it's like catering itself to like people who are like rolling on Molly or something like that, and it's like
just to feel it.
Yeah, it's just like very like primal, like very like bass, and like you feel it on like an instinctive level. I don't know if that's the same effect you're going for in your videos.
I think there's a parallel, but yeah, mine are like, you know,
less
primal to like the more human base. But yeah.
Yeah. We're trying to evolve.
Maybe we need to go back like Kanye though.
Yeah, but you know what? In Kanye's defense, I think he is less concentrated on getting people to feel like animals. Nowadays, I think he's has a more spiritual calling than that. Kanye, if you're watching this, please share this video. It would do wonders for me. Don't act like you forgot me, you son of a bitch. It's a side story for another time.
We'll have to. We can tap into it now if you want.
Man, I met Kanye in Calabasas.
Did you?
That's it.
All right. Cool.
Like. We'll just leave it at that. I wrote a whole like article about it. It's available on the internet, but I feel like I've milked that story for all it's worth, and I need to stop going back to it because I've almost buried my identity in the fact that I once met Kanye, you know, and there are places to elevate towards past meeting someone at one point.
Well, I think he's a very creative individual. So,
and you are too.
Oh, thank you. You as well.
Well, I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Working on it. Yeah. So,
as am I. So yes.
So you were at LPK for
5 years.
5 years. And then you took what you learned there, and you were like, okay, I got, you know, the knowledge, the skills here, I can venture out on my own. And then you started doing your own thing as a freelancer. How was that transition for you?
It was interesting transition. So like LPK was going through some things, and I was just like, you know, this isn't the place for me anymore. So it was time to leave. So I left, and there was other people at LPK that had left and gone elsewhere around the city. So I just kind of made that known that now I'm like going freelance via LinkedIn, what have you. And you know, it was interesting. I've done like maybe one outreach on LinkedIn, really, just posting my demo reel off the rip.
Yeah.
You know, since then I haven't really had to do much in terms of getting jobs. It's all just been word of mouth. And a decent amount of it is from, you know, other creative directors that have left LPK and have gone elsewhere. You know, so I've been really blessed in that sense. And then also, you know, joining up with the collaborative here at the warehouse has been, you know, incredible too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's almost like the norm that I'm seeing. It's like most people are getting their gigs just like through word of mouth. It's like very rarely like a cold call, cold
rarely.
email situation. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, like I'm very fresh into the freelance videography game, and I'm trying to, I guess, like optimize my business in the best way that I can at this point. So is it like for you word of mouth work, but for like a young filmmaker trying to make some money off of it, is like the sales funnel, like building up like a emailing list, like is that the way, or what do you think?
I think it is just like, you know, if you're gonna get a job like doing a gig, you know, say you just have a gig, you have to like knock it out of the park. That way, you know, you have something to kind of pitch out and sell to other individuals. But like having like the networking that you could potentially have at like an agency or something like that is huge. You know, if you like, even if you worked at, you know, just a shop as, you know, the in-house videographer, you know what I mean? That's a decent like stepping stone to get to where you need to be.
And now for a quick word from our sponsors. Me. I've been creating content for brands, academic institutions, nonprofits, and since coming to the warehouse and just having the cumulative knowledge that people who are further along down their career have given me, it's revolutionized the way I create content. When you're hiring me, you're hiring the collective knowledge and resources of the warehouse. All right. Nice. At the beginning of the LPK experience to where you were at the end, what was like the distinctive difference? Just like if you wanted to give like a general summary of your progression through that experience.
Right, and like when you're fresh out of college, you know, they teach you foundation, you know what I mean? But they don't really like, you don't get a ton of exposure. So like having that exposure to, you know, make some pretty cool things, but then also, you know, you're always going to find certain mistakes within your shots, you know? So like anytime I was like in the cutting room floor, I'd be like, man, I wish my exposure was a little bit better. I wish I had adjusted my mics a little bit better. You know what I mean? So learning from your mistakes was like the biggest thing, obviously. And that was like you know, they're just minute mistakes that only you could really pick up on. Like the final product, people can't really tell.
Yeah,
you know?
probably like you know, a novice observer, they're gonna be like, this is fine. Yeah. But if you're looking at your stuff and you're like, ooh, this looks like sourcey. Like I can tell that the light is like not hitting where it's supposed to be. It's like, ugh. And that like I'm trying to evolve through the levels of sucking.
Right.
So it's like,
And what do you think that is? How do you evolve through, you know, the sucking part, you know?
Is that a question for me?
It's for both of us. You answer, then I'll talk about it maybe too.
I think embracing the suck is the key out of the suck, because I don't know. I feel like I'm coming out of this place where like I didn't want to be exposed as someone who like really has no idea what they're doing, but recently it's just like dawned on me that posturing like that, it's not really gonna get me far. But if I can just be like, okay, I'm not very good at X, Y, and Z, I need to be honest with people that could help me about these things so I could grow, actually.
Yeah, very true. I feel like that's what's great about the Warehouse Collaborative is there's a ton of individuals in here that are, you know, within the video realm and have different specialties. You know what I mean? So I'll lean on Dan for like lighting and things like that, right? I think that's been the biggest thing, like for me lately, is just really honing in on lighting. You know, obviously that's everything, and you really focus on it in the front end, but you know, really just getting down to like the minute details of that and just learning how to control it the best way you can is only going to make you better.
Yeah, definitely. And like, yeah, when you're kind of just like peering into like the vast horizon of videography and maybe like conceiving of where you think that this like trade could take you from like A to B, you're not always necessarily like thinking of like the little details that are actually going to make you better as a creator in that realm. But yeah, just like narrowing in on like your weaknesses, it's important for sure.
Yeah, it is. Like, you know, owning those things and just knowing that. Like, I wish I was really great at color correcting and grading and things like that, but I'm not.
You see, you suck? Is that what you said?
I suck, and I'm also colorblind.
Oh.
Yeah, which is terrible.
That is unfortunate.
For this world, you know what I mean? You know, I'm like, I can get things like breeding the scopes and what have you, but like, if I could pass off my footage to, you know, a professional, that's always preferred. That's always preferred. Same thing if you had like, you know, in this day and age, you're wearing a lot of hats. You're running the audio. You're running 2 cameras sometimes. You're running the lights on the set. If I had a gaffer on set, if I had, you know, an audio technician on set, if I had just someone to help me out, like setting up other things and running another camera, that's always going to be huge, and it's always going to make the project and the final product that much better. Yeah,
but you're, for the most part, just running your own show as it stands now?
Yeah, most of the time. But, you know, if the budget allows, which, you know, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it really doesn't allow for another shooter. Right. I had to just kind of eat that up and just produce myself. And, you know, like the final product it'll be good, but it's not going to be as good as it could be with a team.
Right. It's kind of like you get what you pay for.
Yeah,
like
you really do.
If you're trying to outsource this entire project to like one individual, then it's not going to be the same as like if you had an entire agency going through the whole process.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're going to undercut what you would pay an agency for that process.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think before like we even sat down, I was just thinking of things that I would like to, you know, kind of contribute that I think would be helpful. Because we were talking one day, and you're like, oh, I have this like project coming up, and I need to kind of like quote them out, you know. And I was like, well, here, use my like keynote deck that I kind of created
which was super helpful.
Yeah, right. To have the right tools to, you know, get gigs, I think is big too. And I wanted to go over a couple of those things actually while we're on this. And I think having something like a PowerPoint or keynote presentation where it's like, you know, intro to who you are, where you're coming from, what you like to do is really important. But then also just like, you know, a slide to just kind of quote things out has been one of the biggest things and one of the, you know, most used things that I use to try and get gigs. I think when you line item out things, that really helps you and helps the client understand like how much is going into this and how much these things are going to cost.
Right. Because like, as a person who's like organizing, like, okay, my job is to get this video produced. I just need someone to do it, and I want to pay the least amount possible with also getting a good project. Yeah. But then you come in and it's like, okay, well, this is what goes into actually this process. Like, this is pre-production, this is production, this is post-production, like, this is time that I'm spending on this thing that maybe you're not like cognizant of. Like,
yeah, right.
Like you need to explain almost.
Mm-hmm. I think when people see this, they visually understand. It's like, okay, he has a range, right?
Yeah.
And that's associated with time. So it's like, you know, maybe $1,000 to $3,000. And that could be like 1 to 3 weeks of work. You know, so depending on how much time I put into it, that's how much it will cost. You know, and along with that, along with the keynote and the pricing sheet and all that, you know, having a bit of a brand is important too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just a freelancer, you know. It's just, I don't have an LLC, so it's just like just Joshua Bray, you know what I mean? But I created a brand just like B Films, just to kind of have a face
Right.
for my company and, you know, a structure just to show that like I am put together, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like I'm using that logo, I'm using those typefaces. That just shows that you're organized and you kind of have your shit together.
Yeah, and it's not just like a one-off thing. Like, I need to pay rent this month, so I'm gonna be a videographer right now. Which is a adventurous way to live. Just picking up. This month I'm a videographer. Next week I'm gonna be a zookeeper. I really run the gambit.
Yeah.
I do it all. I do it all.
Sounds like an adventurous life.
Yeah. Oh, hey, what's up, dude? Pablo, future guest. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, did you want to touch on anything else, like as far as
some like other tools and things like that?
Yeah, because like I benefited off that little like keynote template that you gave me. It kind of it just like solidifies you as the provider of this service, right?
Yeah, some other things that, you know, might not be so like client to client, but organization is huge for me too. Like, I'm a bit of a neat freak, and like when I do editing, I have a solid structure that I have adopted, and then also kind of, you know, created other parts too as well. So organization is huge, and I could go into like the nitty gritty of like, you know, the editing files is really what you're looking at right here.
Yeah. So we have all our footage shot, collected, and now it's time to hunker down and get in the editing room. What is like the sequence for you?
Yeah, so it's putting it all into folders. It's like that logging process, right? So I'll go in and we'll start off with my folder structure and we'll start to move over from it. So it's like you're either gonna put this into client or personal, you know, maybe it's a personal passion project or something. So say it's going to client, I have the client name, say it's LPK, then I put in like whatever brand I'm working on. And then I put it into another folder, like what's this title of this thing? You know, it could be, we're making like this cooking thing, la da da da. Anyways, now we're moving into like the main structure. So when I go in, I have folder 01 projects. That's where my Premiere files are gonna be. 02 media, that's where all my media is gonna live. 03 is like audio, so it could be, you know, voiceover audio. It could be, you know, audio from mics that we've used for interviews. 04 is gonna be music. 05 is gonna be graphics. 06 and, you know, and so on, right? So I go in, I already have a project setup file for Premiere. So I'll open that up, and then those folders that I've created, like just on my desktop, will be mirrored within the Premiere project file. So you go in 01 projects within, you know, Premiere is gonna be your sequences, right? 02 is gonna hold all your media. 03, you know, will hold all your audio. 04 is gonna have all your music. That way everything's just very aligned and like kept together. And it makes your life a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because if you just like open it up, you don't really have like a structure, things are just gonna be flying everywhere, you know what I mean? So that's been one of the biggest things and one of the most beneficial things for me in the editing room. It's just really having things buttoned up and organized and cleaned. But you know, that's just like the neat freak in me. But,
yeah.
You know, I've actually passed this off to a bunch of other people, and they feel like it's very efficient.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Like where I'm at right now, it's like like when I was doing projects in school, like back in college, it was just like pardon my French, clusterfuck.
Right.
Everything's just
everywhere.
Yeah,
but like the music's mixing and like the audio clips are over here and like the video
yeah.
files are all just under one
So
folder.
I'm talking like not even. I don't know if I should be saying this on the podcast, but like not even like a file folder for like the project itself, just like crazy. But like I've hunkered down, like sharpened it up where like all my stuff is in the same place, but it's not like audio is in its own separate place, like. But I think like having everything like stratified like that and separate definitely just makes the process a lot smoother.
A lot smoother. And then also like if you have to pass these files off, the people that are collecting these files are gonna be super grateful.
Yeah.
They'll be like, whoa, you got your shit together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'll pass this off to you. I pass off the keynotes and now I'll pass this the editing project file off to you.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
No problem.
Yeah. Peers and Beers listeners, if you want access to that, I'll talk to Josh, see if we can hook it up.
Yeah, $5.
That's it. Not that much. Yeah, so we've kind of touched on the like business aspect of it, but I wanted to kind of like hone in a little bit on just stuff like composition and like when you're trying to set up a shot, like what are the things you're looking for. And I actually have an example of one of your shots from your reels.
All
and
right.
I was just curious how you set up this one right now. So we're gonna have it on the screen here.
Oh yeah, this is my best friend and roommate Jeremy Hill. And he was moving away to Australia, right? And this is in my old apartment in Mount Adams, just on the balcony. So like the city's in the background, right? And I have like a 35, like 1.2 on the camera.
So the aperture is 1.2.
Aperture is 1.2. It's all the way open, right?
Right.
And the actual video of this is hilarious. Because Jeremy, he has this obsession with the bass god.
Yeah, Lil B.
Yeah.
Lil B.
I think so. I don't even
bass
really know.
god. Yeah,
honestly,
no,
the bass god. Yeah.
So yeah, I have connection to the bass god. In my previous life, I spit bars.
Yeah.
And my friend, he sent me the bass god's email. Because the bass god, Lil B, he like, he grinds, even when he's not dropping hits, he'll sell a feature for like X amount of dollars. So it was like,
shout out to the bass god.
Would you pay $300 to have the bass god featured on your track? And I was thinking about it for a little bit.
Yeah.
I did not end up going through with it because I had an existential crisis. I'm like, I don't know how lucrative this rapping career is going to be, and went alternative paths. But anyway,
all right, so anyways,
Jeremy and the bass guy.
So Jeremy and the bass guy. So he's in this shot. I'm essentially just using my camera at 35 millimeter lens, and I'm just doing dolly in on him, and it's pretty soft focus. And you have the bokeh going on. I just have a pal just holding a panel light, just like a little light you can buy, just like to kind of create that contrast.
Yeah.
And the whole thought of this was that he's just like kind of in his head saying this monologue. He's been like going through his life. He's been having hard times, but then he remembers that he's the fucking bass god, and that at that point is when he lifts his head up. I have to give you like the full actual video because I think you just saw this on the reel. It's just one shot of him.
Yeah.
So this was just like him just like going away because he was about ready to go over to Australia. So we just like made this at his going away party as like a bon voyage. Like, see you later. Like, I'm the fucking base god. See you.
Yeah, and like the energy that he's exuding here, it has the feel of like this guy feels like he's a shit.
Right.
In that moment.
He does, and like he does a pretty good job of representing that.
Yeah.
You know, so in terms of the composition, it was just like, you know, you're you know, you can dissect this stuff in like so many different ways, can't you? Like, I'm very curious just to see, like, what do you think of this? Like, cause you gravitated towards it.
Yeah.
And like when you mentioned it, it made me chuckle just because it was just like a video where we're just like, kind of just fucking around, you know?
Yeah, I mean, like, just like, kind of feeling my way through just like the levels of cinematography. It's like you see that cinematic look where like the background is like blurred out.
Yeah, the bokeh is just huge, right?
And yeah, and like you have like all those lights. It kind of like gives like it makes it feel like it's like it puts that moment on like a pedestal almost. Like this is big right here.
Yeah.
Almost, but
that feels good to like hear you say that. But yeah, we're also like, you know, 2 football fields away, like probably like,
so yeah, like
probably 4 football fields away from the cities. So from those lights.
So those lights are like way.
Yeah.
So like having that like that depth.
Yeah.
Is kind of like creating this thing, because like in the contrast, it's like he's like, you know, he's up close and personal, and then everything in the back is kind of like auxiliary, but at the same time it like adds to just like the gravitas of him right there.
Right, and it's interesting too, like it's that's what's beautiful about cinematography is that, you know, your motion, your move, your lighting can mean everything.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like we're coming into this man and his emotions and his feelings. Like that's like a dolly in sometimes, you know what I mean? You can use a dolly out to like exit a scene, or you're coming into a scene, things like that. But then also like the lighting's playing in a factor, you know what I mean? This guy's like kind of divided right now, you know, like half of his face is lit, you know,
and the other half is shadowy,
and he's feeling like in this moment he's feeling like very like I have these, I don't know if I should be pursuing these passions and this and that.
Yeah.
Like he's questioning things, but then he comes up and he's like, you know what? No, I got this. So there's like 2 sides of it.
Yeah, or even just like the angle at which you're filming someone. Like if you're going low and they're coming down at you, it's like they have the power versus if you're coming high.
Right, yeah. Like we were watching The Green Mile the other day, you know what I mean? And anytime they showed John Coffey, you know, it's this low angle because he's this giant guy, you know, and then if you're looking at Tom Hanks, it's high, you know, it's coming down because like you're from his perspective.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just like, it's a beautiful thing what cinematography can do and like how you frame things up, because it can represent a thought, feeling, or emotion.
Yeah, yeah. And it's cool because it's like just like little things that like anyone can do. It's like anyone has the ability to do like a high angle or a low angle. It's like you don't need like the best equipment or anything to, you know, use the tools of cinematography to evoke the emotion that you're trying to evoke, which is super cool and inclusive.
Yeah, very inclusive.
Yeah, we're like so inclusive on Peers and Beers.
But that's like,
this is the only white guy we've ever had on. That's not true. Not at all.
Impressive.
That would actually be uninclusive. But yeah, sorry, I had to bring identity politics into it.
Oh gee, you get a little beer and you know,
you just start shooting from the hip. And that's the Peers and Beers MO. We say stuff
off the cuff.
I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's good stuff.
Yeah, this could potentially be cut. We'll see. But I
think it will make it.
But yeah, I think that's the any time that I can have the time for the upfront, in the upfront, to, you know, shot list things out. You're not always so fortunate to do those things.
Yeah.
Clients are like, hey, we need video tomorrow. It's like, okay, what's the thoughts, feelings, and emotion behind this piece? You know, if you have the time to like, hey, I want to do this move because it represents this thought or emotion, you know, it's always going to make the piece a little bit better. And you always are thankful for those clients and those projects that you have because you feel like you're expressing yourself and you're representing, you know, the project in the best way that you can.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, looking at people like yourself and like, you know, Dan Wagner and like all these people in the warehouse and just like seeing like the levels to the stuff and like the knowledge, you know, of like a certain lens at a certain time and just like what a certain look is going to evoke in the viewer. It's, I mean, I feel very fortunate to be around you guys, but excited that like the ceiling that I'm at right now will hopefully soon be shattered and you know, be able to have some growth there. But
yeah, for sure. And I think that would definitely happen. And I think to get there, you're doing the right thing by surrounding yourself with the right people. I think that was the biggest thing for me, actually, too. Sorry, just kind of like taking this over, but
please take it over. I had no idea where I was going with that.
Yeah, that's okay. But at LPK, I was you know, surrounded by designers. Like, there's some people that had a good eye for video and things like that, and photo. But and I had some mentors there, but I wasn't like surrounded by a ton of, you know, other aspiring cinematographers and editors and things like that. You know, those people were here and there, but you know, the space that I'm in now at the Warehouse Collaborative has definitely offered that environment for me. And I think doing that and just being around those people will help you grow too. You know?
Yeah. I mean, it's the old, like, you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with.
Yeah, you are what you eat.
Yeah.
You know, you are what you are around. We're not eating these people.
I'm not eating anyone in like a literal or sensual sense.
Yeah.
None of that is going on at the warehouse, just so you know.
Yeah, no one's eating anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That we know of. But yeah, so as far as your career, you know, you lay down like a really solid foundation with LPK, and now you've had the fortune of having like the freelance thing work for you, and you know, you're working on stuff that you want to work on and all that stuff. Where do you see your career going, and yeah, where would you like it to go?
I think, you know, through experimentation and just like shooting and recording and editing all these different things, you're eventually going to find out what you really love, you know, and what really just flows for you and feels natural. I really enjoy doing anything that could represent people, adventure, you know, like things that are like outdoors, and then also things with food. These are the things that I feel like I'm passionate about in my life, and those are the things that I want to, you know, capture in a very cool way. I think anything that you subscribe to, you know, as like a hobby or something that you love, are going to be things that you are always gravitating towards. So I think those are the things that I want to shoot, and those are the things I want to edit, you know, and I do want to, you know, always have the right feel, the right vibe, you know, the right music, the right shots, what have you. I digress. But yeah, just essentially following what you love and capturing those things are you know, what I'm here for. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And like that's like the core of Peers and Beers, and what we've always trying to been like clawing at is just like that you know, like artistic core. It's like what is that thing that you really love that you just like feel the need to express? And yeah, I mean, like every time I have another person coming on to the show and just like talking about what they're really passionate about. It's awesome because it gives me, you know, the opportunity to look inward and like see what
I'd be passionate about this.
Right. See what's stoking that fire for me.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you coming on to the show and you talking your game and being on the program.
Well, I appreciate being here, sir.
All right.
I do declare this has been lovely.
I don't know why we just got started, but we did.
I feel like we were going that way, so I just was rolling with it. It's probably the beers.
It's the beers.
You know,
the beers. Loosens you up, and the peers enliven, I would argue.
I would agree.
Yeah, okay. All right, man. Well, how can the folks, the millions and billions of peers and beers, how can the millions and billions of peers and beers,
well, this would be great exposure
loyalists.
for me. It's going to be great exposure for
It's going to be amazing. I mean, there's
take off from here.
Billions. We're hundreds. We're tens. I'm not sure. We're going to have to run the analytics check on the YouTube.
All right, cool.
But how can the folks keep up with you?
Yeah, if you guys want to follow me on Vimeo, I tend to post most of my videos over there. I'll be starting up a YouTube channel a little bit more. I got a couple videos there. Gonna populate a little bit more. And also on Instagram at J2, the number, Bray, B-R-A-Y. So J2 Bray. That's how you can check me out.
Sweet, man.
Sweet.
Well, thank you for imparting some of your wisdom upon me and anyone who was real enough to stick with us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
And thank you for the people tuning in.
All right. Sweet, man.
All right.
Peace. Oh, okay.
Peace.
But also the way that we've been ending things is I just pick out a note at which I sing, thank you, and then you harmonize with that.
And I say thank you with you?
Yeah. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nailed it.
Beers and beers, drink away your fears. Let's chit chat for 42 years.